Wow, Gina, you look amazing. Beautiful.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes.
Yes, but don't get used to it.
You don't often wear a dress, but I mean, you look great today.
Well, I appreciate it, honey. But like I said, don't get used to
Why?
it. Because putting these pantyhose on was a real bitch.
Hey, how's my bow tie look?
You look great. Oh, you're very handsome today, too.
Thank you.
I like that.
I hadn't wore this tux in a while.
But where's your pants?
Oh, I didn't feel like I needed to wear them. It's just our 50th episode this time.
Okay. What does that have to do with anything?
Well, I mean, I'll wear the full tux on our 100th episode.
Oh, so because it's 50, you're only wearing 50%
exactly.
of your outfit.
Yep.
I get it.
Listener, welcome to the 50th episode of The Riveted.
With Chris and Gina.
Big deal today, Gina. 50th.
Can you believe we've made it to 50 episodes?
Time has flown by.
It's wonderful.
Lots of fun, lots of stories.
Today is going to be an amazing story.
It is.
Yes.
It's so amazing. Our guest is so over the top, Airstream famous, that we've had to break it up into 2 parts. This is going to be our first 2-part episode.
It sure is. I'm excited about that, though.
Yeah. So episode 50 will be this one, and then part
51 will be part 2.
Correct. Yeah,
right.
Of the same guest. We've not done that before, and
Whoa.
so on episode 51, I will wear my pants, but I won't wear the tux jacket.
Oh, I don't know if I can handle that, honey.
Well, I think it's very important that we should respect the level of our guest today, so we need to just switch into serious mode now.
Absolutely. I like it. Let's get started.
Listener, we have a very, very special guest today.
Beyond special.
It is beyond special, and he needs no introduction whatsoever. There's no way I could do it justice to even try. Everybody knows him, and let's just say that this is the closest we are going to get as podcast guests, or you as a podcast listener. It's as close as you're going to get.
This is it. This is the big one.
To what caused this wonderful Airstream brand to even come into existence.
That's correct.
This gentleman is a close relative of Wally Byum himself. He's lived an amazing, amazing life so far. And we're just so honored to chat with him today and have him on our 50th episode. He's the one and only Mr. Dale Schwamborn. Welcome to The Riveted with Chris and Gina, Dale.
Welcome, Dale.
Well, thank you, Chris and Gina.
Absolutely. We're super excited to have you on here.
We are.
Like, my belly's got like little butterflies in it. And I'm over here just kind of, I'm almost in tears. I'm so excited.
Well, one thing, some people don't know me as Dale Schwamborn, but know me as Pee Wee Schwamborn.
That's right.
And so I'll just add that into your introduction.
Yes. Well, I didn't want to lead with that. I thought we could settle in for a minute before I call you that for the first time. It's kind of
I know it's like
it's unnerving for me to say that the first time.
Right. I just have Dale embedded in my head. It's hard for me to say Pee Wee, but
yeah. So Pee Wee, how are you doing today? You doing good? See, that was even weird to say.
I'm doing fine. I don't know about Dale, but Pee Wee's fine today.
That is wonderful. Well, we're just honored to have you on as our guest for our 50th episode. It's a special episode for us, and you're a special person. So we're looking forward to this chat. I know that you have so many experiences, so many stories inside of you that we're only going to be able to scratch the surface with this conversation, but we look very much forward to it. We always like to start out asking our guests what their entry point was to Airstream, but for some reason that doesn't seem like that's a appropriate question for us to ask you. But I mean,
it's real easy.
Yeah,
it's very simple. It was the day the doctor patted me on my butt.
Right, the day he was brought to life. Here.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, that's awesome.
Well, we could start off with how you came up with the nickname Pee Wee. Like how did you get that nickname?
Well, going back early on, I did spend time with Wally and his first wife at their home in Los Angeles. And then in 1951, Wally called my parents and asked if I could actually go on a trip to the high Sierras. And it was an interesting thing. I'm a little short guy, 5'1". There's two basically almost adult boys, one 17, 15, Stella and Wally. And so we hike over two of the highest passes in the United States, continental United States, one which most people will recognize, the portal of Mount Whitney. So somewhere on that trip, Wally decided to call me Pee Wee. What else I found out more recently is actually it was a test trial to see if I was compatible with everybody. And then Wally asked me to go on the first caravan later on that year.
So you were like put through the test and didn't know it.
Yeah, you think that really
Yes.
was like a strategy or like a legitimate plan for him to do that just to make sure you were compatible?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Because we're going to be traveling for 4 months.
Right.
And so how do I react to conditions that aren't normal to me, like hiking over steep passes, uh, eating mountain cooked food, So I think that it really was a test, but I only thought of that in the last few years. It obviously wasn't something that I would have recognized early on.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's interesting aspect to that story, and it makes a lot of sense. We have got questions in our mind to ask you, and whether they are the right ones, we'll just never know. But by all means, whatever comes to your mind that you'd like to share with us, you're welcome to. But I just there's so many parts of your life, I'm sure that had an Airstream involved in it. And, our main goal of our podcast is to chat with people and have conversations about how your life changed or how it was enhanced by having an Airstream in it. And, I can only imagine from that very beginning story and beyond, your life's been forever changed because of your family relation to Wally and just being around Airstream for your entire life, right?
Yeah, a lot of it's a gradual education, I think, more than anything else, and I think it has several aspects. I think one, especially when we get to Africa, I was working for Wally, but on the other 4 caravans, I was doing and helping my mother. But the thing is, the traveling, getting to know what the world is like. You don't normally have that opportunity to visit over 40 or 50 countries before you're 22 years of age.
Wow.
So that was an education. But I think even more important, I've come to believe that there's a lot of things that are of value in our lives, but the most important of all are people, getting to know people, being able to interface with them. And that's the most valuable, I think, part of my life are people.
Yeah.
We totally agree with that.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's one of the primary reasons why we decided to start a podcast with this kind of subject matter is because, like all Airstreamers do when they're gathered together, they'll sit around and they'll start sharing stories and talk with each other about their Airstreaming lives, and they obviously have a common bond because they're both Airstream, they're all Airstreamers, and so the more people like that you meet, the more enriched your life is.
And those stories are, that's not just the bonding aspect of it through the Airstream, but the stories is what creates the friendships and the community. And we believe wholeheartedly in that.
Yeah, sure do. I want to ask a question about, I guess to kind of lead off with you're, definitely very famous in the Airstream community for going on the very first caravan and all the other caravans that you've been on. But it's kind of a two-part question, I guess. Like, how many total caravans have you been on in your life, for one? And then talking specifically about the African caravan, I just wanted to know, like, how did you personally arrive in Cape Town? Like, what travel logistics did you do to arrive in Cape Town?
Well, we sailed on the passenger freighter African Enterprise from Brooklyn, New York, to Cape Town. And I forget how many exact days, 10 or 11 days to transverse from the northern Atlantic to the South Atlantic.
Yeah.
With two stopovers, one at Ascension Island, which we did not go ashore, and the second was St. Helena, where the caravanners, because a good portion of the caravanners on the caravan were on that ship. We got off at St. Helena, which is just really a rock in the middle of nowhere in the Atlantic, but it has a nice little community. But it's most famous for the fact that there's a home there that when the British and Europe exiled Napoleon, that's where he lived until he passed away. So that was very interesting to be that part of history.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And was this the ship that the trailers were on as well?
Yes, for the passengers that were caravanners, their trailers and my scout truck were on that particular freighter. I think that it was a nice piggyback. And we had all the convenience, even though it was just a passenger freighter, we had all the convenience of any of the modern cruise ships today. I mean, we had all the good meals, the good food, and just in a very tiny compartmentalized ship.
Right. And what was the trip itself comfortable? Like, was it fair seas, or was there any challenges?
Bad weather?
Yeah.
It was, as far as weather went, it was fine. The last night before Cape Town, we're in bed, and this is a notorious thing when you're sailing to Cape Town. It's called the Cape Rollers. And so you have the Atlantic and the Pacific, or the Indian Ocean, I should say, meeting, and where the two of them come together, you're really rocking and rolling and up and down, around, and all of that.
Ooh.
So that was, but that's typical. That happens to anybody going from New York to Cape Town.
Yeah.
Now, see, I'm trying to visualize this because that's just what I do. So I visualize this big freighter and all these Airstreams lined up on there, not tied down, or are they tied down? And then when you're there, are you sleeping in your rigs?
No, we all had cabins, and the trailers, the Airstreams were all tied down.
Okay.
There was no problem for the tow vehicles or the Airstreams in the whole of the ship.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
I've seen pictures where they've loaded Airstreams onto freighters with those big cranes, and they're dangling in the air, and I just don't know if I could do that, Dale. That just kind of gets my gut there, It's like, woo.
Well, I think every caravaner was at the dock when their trailer was unloaded, and it's sort of like wondering, that's my trailer, but is it going to act like a yo-yo?
Yes.
And like the relief I'm sure that they felt when they saw the tires touch ground.
Yeah,
I mean,
they can breathe at that point.
Wow.
Now, needless to say, they probably had rough roads ahead of them that they weren't counting on, but
wow.
That would have gotten me. Yeah.
So you arrive there, you unload, you're ready to begin, and you're off on the journey and so forth. So we could talk this entire episode just about that one caravan, but the the thought that Gina and I had, or the question that we'd like to ask you with regard to the African Caravan, first is, in your lifetime, technology has changed considerably. And when I say technology, I'm just talking about all types of technology.
It's changed in our lifetime.
Well, yeah, but think of the vast change in your lifetime. So, like, can you give us some perspective on your thoughts or knowledge, obviously, of the technology that you used then during the African Caravan compared to the technology that's available today, and what you would envision or see as what you guys used and did then?
Well, it was basically, as an advanced scout, just verbal and visual. Verbal meant that we would have to leave a message wherever they were going to go, and people would give Wally, or actually Lou Mousley, the wagon master, would give him messages, or if it was necessary, we would wait for the caravan and tell them whatever they needed to know. But being ahead, we had no radios or anything like that. In fact, we didn't even have wet blankets and green wood to give them a smoke signal. But
Wow.
uh, the other thing that worked very well, which made it easy to go ahead, because Nick and I are stopping off and talking to the government officials, the mayor's office, the police, and telling them what's happening. They provide a place for the caravan to stay. So we had these arrow signs that says Wally Byum Caravan with a red arrow. I'm quite sure you've seen a similar sign.
Yes.
So if they're coming to into a town, they will come up on, and there's an arrow pointing to the left. That means they need to go to the left. If they go so far, then there's an arrow to the right. And then once they get to where the campsite is, the arrow is pointing straight down. So that was the major communication that we had.
Right.
Wow.
And those signs, would you ever go back and retrieve them, or did you just leave them as almost like trail markers?
We had a mechanic, Art Reese, and Art was always the last one in, and he would pick up all of the signs. We had a box on top of the scout truck that had probably 200 of the signs.
Wow.
So there was never really any problem. They were always retrieved, and we always had more than we needed.
Yes.
Yeah, but that was a cool way of doing that, though.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you said that you had no radios. Did anyone in the caravan have radios, and just not you as a scout?
I think there may have been. It's one of those things. If you're not using something and you're not communicating to someone because you have a radio, and then of course the technology in 1959, it wouldn't reach very far anyway.
Right.
How far ahead did you stay? Ahead of the group.
Anywhere from hours to maybe a week and a half.
Oh wow! Okay.
Wow.
See, I'm thinking, a couple miles, but
Yeah.
we're talking about it could be a time or two. But
yeah, well, when we went up the coast from Cape Town to Durban, we stopped off at I think 3 or 4 different locations, and so we were in Durban quite a few days, like 3 or 4 days before the caravan came in.
Like you would go scout, then you would come back and tell them where you were, or they would just follow the signs. That was all they did.
They would just follow the signs. A lot of time, because of schedules and their timing, the local police force would have either a patrol car, motorcycle, or something also to greet them.
Yeah.
So there, basically, when you have a police escort, it's mostly getting through a more populated area or an area that might be confusing. So if the caravans coming into a town of 30,000 or 40,000, and you have to go through the main drag,
Yeah.
it could create a little bit of confusion for the caravanners, but also getting to the other end of the line. Uh, so, yeah, there was never any problem of finding campsites.
And we will be right back.
I'd like to take a moment to tell you about Patreon and how you can help support the Riveted with Chris and Gina podcast. Patreon is a simple, interactive way to support the people who make the content you love. There's no value that can be assigned, so you can enjoy these inspiring stories of Airstream enthusiasts from all quarters of the USA. But there are associated costs with operating the website and hosting the podcast, in addition to the large amount of time it takes to curate and edit each weekly episode. For as little as $5 a month, the equivalent of a cup of coffee or a beer, you can help the Riveted with Chris and Gina become the podcast of the Airstream community. Becoming a patron also means you will get first-to-know details, free merch, invites to special Zoom-based hangouts, and more. The link to Patreon is in this episode description. Thanks in advance for your support and love. See you down the road.
And now back to the fun.
What would you consider your most amazing experience while on that African caravan?
Oh, I have a list of 21 things that were very key or important to me on that trip, and was it being parked at the pyramids? Was it being in the Ituri forest with pygmies? I think maybe because I was a history major of social studies in high school and graduated with history. I think probably meeting and shaking hands with the Emperor Haile Selassie in Addis Ababa in his palace was sort of a reminder of things that I had studied, where he came and talked to the League of Nations due to the fact that the Italians had taken over his country. And so I think that was sort of special. Now that's a living situation. Probably the most spectacular was Wally's ability to get with the Department of Equities in Cairo and allowing us to actually have a campsite at the pyramids. That was something like you would always call it a one and done situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that really was unbelievable. I look at it this way. A lot of people wake up in the morning, and I don't know, or they used to, and somebody would be throwing a newspaper on their sidewalk. So you go out and get your newspaper, you look across at your neighbor's house and the trees and all of that, and that's nice. But how is it when you open your door and there they are, the three pyramids?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what a great morning reaction.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, I was going to ask you to expand on that aspect of being parked there separately, but if you kind of feel that may be, your most amazing experience, I could only imagine that it would be. The follow-up question I've got about that would be to describe, like, well, how many days, nights were spent at that location? Was it just one, or how many?
I have to believe it was at least three, if not four, but three probably is on par.
Yeah. So I was going to ask, like, just describe that experience of being there, but to expand on it even more is like, what was an average evening like once the caravan got to a destination for the night and settled in? Was it just focused purely on rest, or and like specifically when you're there, camped at the pyramids, what were those evenings like? What happened in camp during that time there?
Well, I would say that once you're in camp and you're in Cairo, you have so many things to do. You have food to shop for. You have the antiquities, the Museum of Cairo. There's so many things to do that other than a scheduled meeting, maybe that Wally would have the night before we would move into Cairo, or as soon as the first morning came, Wally would present all of the things that were available, possibly bus tours, maybe tickets to go into the Museum of Antiquities. So, I mean, once you're there, it's no different than if I were to go to New York City and want to go to
Yeah.
the Museum of Modern Art or to go to the Statue of Liberty. You're pretty much on your own, just because what you want to see, what you want to do.
Yeah.
And of course, there would be bus tours. And if there was a bus tour to the museum, then probably everybody would sign on to go to the museum.
What about the evenings? Like, was there group gatherings around the camp in the evenings, or
like campfires?
Yeah, or just what was that like?
That is something that I'm sort of void on memory. Uh, uh, I think that there was some gathering, but maybe more friends, maybe 3 or 4 trailers were friends or whatever, and they would talk about it. I don't think there was anything like a campfire. Obviously, you had no wood. Maybe you could get a mummy and burn a mummy up. I don't know, but we were all social and we were all intertwined with each other, but not necessarily, every night having a potluck. There were a few potlucks on the caravan. You've got to understand that Nick and I, not being there, we missed a lot of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they were so far ahead.
You're right.
The things that happened to me, the things that happened to me and Nick, are entirely different than what happened to most of the caravans. I mean, a good example. There's a town called Oudtshoorn in South Africa, and it's a ostrich farm. Well, some of the caravanners rode ostriches and all that. Nick and I didn't even go to Oudtshoorn. I mean, that wasn't on our schedule of checking. That was already prearranged and was part of their travel to Durban. So a lot of things that might be written down are fine, but I never did them. But they never did some of the things I did, like a good example. We're in the Belgian Congo, and we had to leave. I guess it was Albert's National Park or whatever. It was a game preserve, and so Nick and I left there late evening, or I mean not late evening, but late afternoon, early evening. And so we're have to go up over an escarpment and then down and get to a soccer field. So on our way, about 10:30, 11 o'clock, a herd of elephants coming across the road.
Whoa.
Oh,
Wow.
And there's baby elephants. And so I'm driving and I back up and I get the truck stuck, and it takes an hour and a half before somebody actually comes by with a truck to pull us out. So we get to where we're going. It's a school with soccer fields. So Nick and I are getting up in the morning, and there we are. We've got 25 or 30 natives in skins, no, what should I say, formal clothing, with bows and arrows and spears, examining our scout truck. And one of the things that I did several times, I had a battery-operated portable record player. So I had an album by Louis Prima, and I found that putting on music with a little bit of beat and all of that was always very interesting. And even though I couldn't speak their language, they couldn't speak mine, but the music sort of blended two cultures
Oh, I
together.
like that.
But
How
while we
interesting.
were there, uh, the children came out to look at our truck. They're up on a higher elevation, so Nick and I began a little bit of conversation. Viva! So we get them to say Viva, and so when they're finished saying Viva, we say Wally, and we get them to say Wally back to us. Then we say Byum, and they say Byum, and we get them to begin to go through that rehearsal together in unison, about probably 100, 125 of these young students, and they're all capable of saying Viva Wally Byum. So when the caravan gets there, here's Wally being greeted, Viva Wally Byum.
Wow.
That's cool.
So that's something that Nick and I did. And of course, that was outside of being with the caravan, but we thought it was really a good thing to train them to say that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And you said you got the truck stuck. Did that happen often, like with the caravan? I mean, was it slow going? How, because, now we have paved roads. You can be, on a caravan and be from point A to point B in a couple hours, and it's no big deal. But it's
Yep.
my understanding that it wasn't quite that easy then.
Well, there's three separate situations. First of all, most of the tow vehicles were international harvesters, and there was an engineering flaw. So
Uh-oh.
we were making spider gears, axles, and other drivetrain problems to the point where I'm not sure how many parts we would have had, because we wouldn't have thought that there was going to be a problem. So we got all of the parts from South Africa, all of them from Africa, Europe, and finally, to the chagrin of the International Harvester, they had to start flying in parts for us to repair. And it wasn't just one or two vehicles. It was almost every one of them at one time or another had some type of a drivetrain disaster. So that's one side of it. The next side is when we got to Ethiopia, the highway from Nairobi to Addis Ababa had been built during the Second World War by South African and British troops to fight the Italians. And the roads had not been repaired or anything along that line since they were built. So I remember one time the scout truck was going over some deep gullies right in the middle of the road. I had my right front tire on pavement or on dirt, and I had my left rear, but the other two weren't touching; they were in the air.
Wow.
And that sounds like, well, you're going to tip over or whatever. Well, a four-wheel drive, you at least have traction on each of those two that were able. Also in Ethiopia, when we first entered, it had like a monsoon rain.
Mm.
And so we had to not only, rebuild the road from sticks and so on. We had like a old time fire company. Instead of water, we had buckets of dirt, just so we could try to get some type of traction to get through the mud. And between the roads that weren't there and the mud, it actually took took us what should have normally, distance-wise, taken a couple of days. It took us 2.5 weeks.
Wow.
Oh,
And
wow.
when we didn't get to Addis Ababa on time, American newspapers started publishing articles about the lost caravan because nobody knew where we were.
Oh.
Amazing.
7 Airstreams wanted to go across the Nubian desert. Everyone else that was still on the caravan at that time went by rail to Wadi Halfa. And so the one thing that Wally said, the 3 auxiliary vehicles have to go if they want to go, but if they don't go, so it was sort of like in the Army, it was one of these things, if you want to go, well, you're going to go anyway, so it doesn't matter, you have to hide the fact that you're going. So that took, I don't know how many days, but we were constantly getting stuck in sand. In fact, Pete Turner, the photographer working for Airstream, his truck had a axle broken, so Art Reese, the mechanic, had to tow him. And then, of course, there was the scout truck. We actually got stuck for 10 hours in the sand trying to maneuver and get out of it, which we did. But it wasn't something we could just drive out of. We had to do a lot of things to actually get back on the road. Well, there is no road, back on the sand, I should say.
Right.
What was it worth it? Was it worth it going across the desert versus just getting on the train?
Well, I think that for the 7 people that went, they wanted to be able to make their trip complete.
Okay.
Yes.
And by doing that, we did do one thing that was sort of bad. You have the Sudanese railway, and we did go bumpity bumpity bump and drove on their rail line, and really, Wally got his butt chewed out really bad because the what should I say, the environment and the fragility of the rail line. We didn't do anything very good for that, but without having any direction from the government, at that time that we did get up on the rail line, we thought that was the one way that we would even be able to get out of the desert.
Yeah, like so that you would be out of the sand.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's it's amazing insight to that part of.
It's fantastic because the guys wore dress clothes and the women had on dresses and little heels, and they just plunged right through it.
They did.
The whole caravan.
That's amazing.
Well, Dr. Rieger and his wife at the palace of Haile Selassie, she actually had a fur stole on.
Wow.
Think of that, being in Africa wearing a fur stole.
Yes.
Over the top.
Yes.
To kind of go back to starting this part of our talk, I had asked like what the total number of caravans you've been on. So we've spent a lot on this African caravan, which is amazing. But like, what's the total number that you've participated in?
5. The first caravan to Mexico and Central America in 1951.
Yep.
When Wally hired my mother to take over the organization for caravans and to take care of the Airstream owners club, the Wally Byum Caravan Club. That was 1955, 1957, back to Eastern Canada. In 1956, the European Caravan, and 1959, African Caravan, and then just briefly in 1961, I'm going to work at the Airstream factory in Santa Fe Springs. It's summer break from college. And so I'm actually staying in the African scout truck. My mother wanted me to go to Eastern Canada and scout the trip for her. Now, this was a limited scout trip. It was only for about 2.5 or 3 weeks. I had a friend of mine from home go with me. So we went to New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, Prince Edward Island, Quebec, and then we had to leave there, and we went to the international rally that was being held in Hershey, Pennsylvania, did all the reports. And it was really quite easy for me to do that particular quick scout trip because I'd been in the cities. I knew the people in the media, whether it be newspaper, TV, or radio. I knew most of the mayors. So it worked really well for me to do that and make sure of the arrangements that were necessary.
Wow. That's
I don't think that, well, and I'm not sure about this, but I feel like for Airstreamers who have never experienced a caravan or even like dove into reading about them or trying to understand them, I don't think they understand or realize how much work and pre-planning and everything that goes into these caravans. And I'm not talking about just caravans back in the 50s, 60s, I'm talking about caravans even today, the work that goes into putting them together. Now we've kind of got, of course we've got all the technology, but we also, are repeating some caravans over and over. So we've kind of got those down pat, but still there's a lot of research and time and energy that goes into putting these things together.
well, yeah. And what he just described, the research that's happening today electronically, he was doing on his scouting trips.
Yes.
That was the research.
Yes.
Yeah. That's
So the thing is, first of all, your destination is Eastern Canada.
yeah.
So, and I'm talking about 1955
Yeah.
for the first caravan.
Right.
So, do you go in Maine, or do you go in at Sault Ste. Marie? Well, we went in at Sault Ste. Marie. We happened to, on the schedule that was developed. Now, my mother didn't develop this schedule. It had already been planned as far as the trip went. And so on July 4th, we're in Algonquin Park, and we had one heck of a feast and all of that, and a celebration of Wally's birthday. And then we meandered on to other parts of Ontario, including Ottawa, didn't go to Toronto, and then we went into Quebec, and then into New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, and finally left the caravan in Maine. So you have to have all of those stops already done. It was probably all done by writing, knowing the number of miles, what are you going to see. Obviously, if you're going to go from point A to point B, and there's a half a dozen things that people may want to stop and see, maybe something to eat, a waterfall, something primitive, who knows? Then that's going to be a short day. You might only go 75 or 100 miles. Then if there's nothing, you might be going 150 to 160 miles to the next destination. So all of those things are being planned, but also with the various meetings and so on, people are being told what's coming up, and then they select how they want to travel during that day. And probably on those particular caravans that I was on in Canada, there were more potlucks than you would ever shake a stick at, especially the
yeah.
1957 one. I didn't know that so many women could cook and have different types of sweet things for dessert at a potluck than what they could do with blueberries. Oh my God. Blueberries cooked almost every way you would ever want to think of.
Wow.
Blueberries. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And some maple syrup maybe from Canada.
Yeah. And
I think people bought maple syrup from Canada. Nothing wrong with pancakes and syrup.
That's right.
nothing. Mm-hmm.
Let's pivot and chat a little bit about Wally, just for a few minutes. You a very close relative of his. You grew up around him, and just talk.
Well, I have a very important question.
You do?
I do about Wally.
Sure. Yes.
Yes. Dale, and this pertains to you too, but was Wally a hugger?
Oh, very definitely a hugger. I don't
Yes.
think there's anyone that didn't get the Byum hug, and I definitely always hug people too.
Yay.
That's great.
And my mother did too. I don't know if it's an instinct or just something, but I think that it's very important if you're friends, and occasionally even people you don't know you might hug too. But you never know if they're a hugger. But if you have friends and if you don't hug them, then you aren't being a good friend.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
no.
agree. I love hugs. And you don't remember, I'm sure, but you gave me a huge hug at the Heritage Center opening several years ago.
How about that?
It was a
Mhm.
big hug. I loved it.
Well, I will admit, Gina, your question is better than my question. But the question that I was going to ask about Wally for you, Dale, is did Wally have a drink of choice
Oh,
that you know of?
I would say 7 and 7,
7 and 7. Yeah.
gosh.
and maybe also Bacardi and Coke.
Yeah. And those libations travel with him on the caravans. Like, was that a evening or a reward after a hard day's travels?
I can't answer that.
Yeah.
He probably left the mixers out.
No.
But I will say one other thing. He and my mother liked as strong and as hot coffee in the morning, no milk, no sugar. And that was how they both started off in the morning, was strong, hot coffee. My mother always liked to have some type of an egg for breakfast.
Yep.
And Wally, to me, his breakfast would be an English muffin with some butter on it and marmalade jam.
Right.
That sounds good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your mother was cousins with Wally, correct?
Yeah, they're cousins. I'm a first cousin once removed of Wally's. Their fathers were brothers.
Okay.
Bertram Byum was Wally's father, who was roughly 9 or 10 years older than Ray Byum, which is my mother's father. And they were both born in Iowa. And both boys divorced Wally's mother and my mother's mother. So they were brought up in a broken home. And at a period of time until Wally's mother remarried, he was living with his cousins and his grandparents in Baker City, Oregon. And my mother and her sister were basically raised by her grandparents. And until my mother actually, I don't know how soon after she got out of high school, she graduated when she was 16. And it maybe when she was 18 or 19, then moved and joined her mother and stepfather in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
You think back in that year range, the challenges of family life, back then, or just the typical home environment. I mean, it's really what you just described is no different than what can be going on today. And look at the amazing success that Wally had in his adult life after coming from that type of childhood and home life. And same with your mother. And they obviously had a bond that carried them through their adult life, and such close relationship when it came to
that they could even work together,
Airstream, and work together. Yeah. It's wonderful.
I know more so for Wally than my mother. He had to start working at a very early age, being there with his, I believe, 4 cousins and his grandparents. He had to have duties and things every day. And then I do know that after she remarried Dave Davis, who was a butcher, and she actually was a bookkeeper, Wally's mother. And so from things that were in the archives or that I had, it showed that Wally was always working. A good example, he was so happy, he wrote a letter to one of his aunts, and he was just so proud of himself. He collected the eggs and went to town and sold them for 50 cents or whatever. And so you could tell that he was industrious at that time, but the eggs had a certain monetary value that would help the family. I mean, it wasn't money he was making for himself, but it was something for Dave Davis and his mother, Carrie. So
interesting. That's awesome. While we're talking about family, can we just ask you to just share a few minutes about your wife and your life with her?
Well, my wife is Airstream related. That seems sort of strange. I'm from Bakersfield, California, and she's from Brooklyn, New York.
Wow.
And I'm stationed in Fort Dix, New Jersey. Well, Pete Turner, the photographer that was hired by Airstream, was out of, what should I say? He was now living in Manhattan. And in fact, I helped him move from his uptown apartment to midtown. Beautiful apartment. It was like when you went east, it was like 3 buildings east of the Empire State Building. So when you're in his building, you look down on the East River, and you also saw the United Nations building, the entire complex. Or if you look to your left, you have the Chrysler building. So
wow.
He invited me to a party at his old apartment house. And so I get there, and so I see this cute little blonde, and she's a sophomore in college. And so we begin dating, and then eventually we get married in California. And we were married 52 years before she passed away from Alzheimer's.
52 years. That's fantastic.
That's amazing.
Yes.
And you met her because of the photographer that Airstream hired. It just invited you to a party.
Yeah. So I consider her a Airstream trophy.
Yeah.
Well, how did she feel about Airstream and the travel trailer and camping and all that? Did she enjoy it? Obviously, right?
I did. When I was doing it, I wouldn't. I mean, today when I go, I will have a caravel at the International, and of course it's going to be hot and sticky in Pennsylvania. I lived in Pennsylvania 3 years, so it has air conditioning and all the good things. but
Yeah.
you know, that's all my experiences were all boondocking
Right.
until this, what should I say, revisiting Airstream since my mother's death in 2004. So I won't tell you what we do with black tanks, but along the highway throughout Africa, there's paradise with green grass and nice, beautiful trees. But
You
They fertilized it.
no
You-
dump stations.
yeah, you guys were boondocking before it was cool.
and and uh, and I guess the best way to talk about the black tanks and the oasis is the world is my oyster.
Mhm. You know what's so
Yeah.
funny though, when I sit here just with that comment that you made, Chris, and listening to Dale, is that all of the equipment that is required nowadays for people to say that they can boondock versus what you guys had years ago.
Oh yeah.
And y'all were out there boondocking, no complaints. Y'all were just making it work. Like, what's an air conditioner, right? You know? And now they have to have so much power so that they can run their AC and their TVs and stuff just so they can boondock.
Oh yeah. And all the
Oh yeah, they can't wait to put their little dish thing up and
yes.
Yes.
get the lunch.
Yes.
Yeah, as long as they don't do it during the day and look at soap operas. But yeah, I mean, water. We had water tank. Every drop of water that Nick and I had in Africa, we had to hand carry and fill our tank with. You know, it wasn't a matter that we had a hose or a pump or anything. We had to actually hand carry our water.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Chris and I
convenience
have
is-
done that.
Yeah. The convenience is that you know, or let me back up. The things that people today sometimes feel are an inconvenience were very much conveniences for you guys back then.
Well, because you didn't have those conveniences, you didn't think and worry or be concerned about not having them.
Yeah.
But based on what we were doing, far surpassed any luxury travel that we would have had. I remember Nick and I are at a old colonial hotel in Cairo, and we're having some Turkish coffee, and we're sort of on a lower level, and there's a couple up there, and they're talking and so on, and this is the worst hotel we've ever been in. And I don't know why we ever came to Egypt, let alone Cairo. I think the sooner we get out of here, these are Americans, by the way, the better. And I look at it that way. Earlier that day, I was in the souk, which is the marketplace that the people in Cairo go shop for food. And there I am. I'm at a meat place. They don't really have that good refrigeration. And I'm getting a pound of ground mutton because it's not lamb. And I'm going to make some meal with that. And here I am walking through and doing that type of shopping. And here I am enjoying myself with Nick, having some Turkish coffee, only to hear these Americans complain. And they have absolutely no idea where I've been or what I've done.
Yeah.
And they would have just been terrified.
Absolutely. Yep. It's a perspective
The
for
power of the Airstream.
Yes.
The power of the Airstream.
Yeah.
You
Absolutely.
do things that other people cannot do.
Wow, what a great episode with Pee Wee. And that was part 1 with him.
Look forward to part 2 next Thursday, August the 7th. And we'll finish up this great conversation with Dale Schwamborn, everybody. So in the meantime, check out all of our socials. And like we always say,
see you down the road. Chris, go put your pants on now.
that's no fun.